Hey,
I would see how long it was going to take you to say something first. I just
it's
get my mouth open like I was froze up.
it's a it's Josh and TCAT back with the Real Fine by Me episode. It's been a little bit, it feels like, because
Been a couple weeks, man.
yeah, there's been some illnesses going around and people have been
Man,
sick, but we're
we got the
back
bird
to
flu going around,
oh yeah, it's been bad. So,
monkeypox.
but we're back with you guys this week. So why don't we spin that wheel, find out what we're gonna watch, and see what we got.
Spin the wheel, brother. Spin
Spin
it,
it.
spin it. Like Price is Right.
All right, Departed.
Dude, this is going to be an all-time hitter right here.
So our first Oscar winner won a
It
lot of
is.
Oscars, right? This is
It did win a
won
lot of
the best
Oscars.
motion picture, director, screenplay, editing, best supporting actor for Mark Wahlberg.
Dude, Mark
So
Wahlberg's character is so intense.
yeah, so this is high up on the list of all movies. Not so I'm assuming it's going to be that way for us as well. So um, why don't we go watch it? Come back and talk about it.
Sounds good. Get your popcorn.
Yo, it's Josh and TCAT. Best believe that. Reeling in the truth. Stacking on the film snack. Popcorn popping. Critics keep talking. On this podcast, ain't no time for stalking. Real fine by me, we keeping it free. Josh and TCAT, the hosts you wanna see. Movie reviews, jokes that ain't new. Keep it locked in, cause we know what to do. Lights, camera, action, movie main attraction. Critics we ain't, but we got that passion. Breaking down the scenes, funny like memes. Josh and T-Cat, man, living the dream.
Man, that I've not watched this movie a bunch. I think I watched it when it first came out on DVD. I didn't even go to theaters to watch it. But I hadn't revisited it since probably when it came out. And
I
then
had to watch it on DVD because I wasn't going to pay to rent it, and it's not on anything.
it's
I think it's
nothing.
on
It's on no.
Apple. Is it on Apple TV?
I rented it off of Amazon Prime, but I think you can rent it off of any of them. Um, but yeah, it was like $4. It wasn't terribly expensive,
I'm
but
just glad I
there,
had it on DVD. It seemed like all the ones we're hitting now is either was just on some kind of streaming service
yeah,
or it's just not on anything.
yeah, it's been crazy. So, uh, we can we can get into it here. It was made in 2006, came out on October the 6th, directed Martin Scorsese. So it's a Scorsese movie, first one of those.
Got an
Uh,
all-star cast.
All star. Budget of $90 million, grossed over 290 million. So it did really well for itself, and especially for the time. It's
We
not a
we think about like these movies now. Of course, we're in the era now of like these big like superhero movies like
yeah.
Avengers and
Everything makes a
Avatar
billion
even.
dollars.
Yeah, so like you think about $300 million, like, well, that's not shit. But dude, 2006,
Yeah,
that's probably one of the higher grossing films of that year, I would say.
I would think so. And a $200 million profit is nothing to laugh at.
Oh
But
yeah,
especially for an Academy Award winning movie, it's not like they're giving away Academy Awards for the Avengers. Um, but this one definitely got it.
right.
Uh, so we got Leo DiCaprio as Billy, Matt Damon as Colin, Jack Nicholson as Costello, and
Frank Costello.
yeah, um, Mark Wahlberg as Digan, and he is like you alluded to before, he is pretty crazy in this movie. But you don't really see a whole lot of him, but he plays an integral part, right? Like
I
for
think
Mark
whenever
Wahlberg.
I was writing down my notes, of course, it's I had a hard time keeping up with all the character names because there's just
Yes,
so
there's so many of them.
well that and like every character is a pretty much a lead role. Even like you said, like Mark Wahlberg's character, even though he won the Academy Award for supporting actor, his role is like he might be the only supporting actor in the movie, really, because all the rest of them
Yeah,
have their own, like they're their own lead in their own plot, like their own story.
and we're fixing to get into the whole. what happens in the movie, but
Right.
there's so much. There's no way we're going to cover it all. It's just plot after back plot after, different story from different character angles that all meld together. And Scorsese does a great job of bringing that in. It's a modern gangster movie. When I watch this movie, I kind of feel like I'm, um, Godfather,
Yeah.
stuff like that type feel to it. I don't know if that's because it's set in Boston and the way they talk, and maybe that makes me feel more like a mob mentality, but it definitely feels to me like it's a gangster mob movie.
Yeah, and the way I kind of see that too, but the way I kind of see it, it's kind of framed almost like a theater drama.
Yeah,
Like the way Martin Scorsese does a lot of his movies is it's almost like acts. Like you have different acts of the movie. So it's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna start going into the plot because like you said, it's just so much to cover. So it's in 1980s Boston is kind of how you kind of start the movie, and it's Matt Damon's character as a young man,
yeah,
and he's in like a grocery store in South Boston, which is where this movie takes place. And Frank Costello is played by Jack Nicholson, and he's a younger man, probably in his 40s, 50s at that time. And Matt Damon's character, what is his name? I can't remember his
Colin
name. Matt Damon.
is what I
Yeah,
got wrote down. Colin.
he's kind of like a not poor, but lower class in the area, and he's in there getting some groceries. Well, just like any other mafia scenario, the owner of the store pays Frank's character, the gangster, for protection. So he has to give a
Right.
percentage of his, whatever he takes in that week or that month, whatever they worked out for their agreement. So he comes in to get his money. He comes in to collect, and Matt Damon's character as a young boy is in there, and he asks him about his family and like about his mom or his grandma or whatever. And he's like, if you ever want to make some money, well, first he gives him some like groceries, like bread and
Yeah.
sandwich meat, and hooks him up, and gives him all of his change. And he said, if you ever want to earn any of this money, come down by my place, and we'll set something up. So he starts him out kind of grooming him
Yeah.
because he has a play of getting him into like good school and infiltrating the Massachusetts State Police as he gets older. So it kind of fast forwards to that as Matt Damon getting out of the police academy. At the same time, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is going to the
Billy.
police academy as well, Billy. And
Yep.
he's like comes from like a gangster family or like a less savory family in South Boston. Like some of
Yeah,
his family has
it's complete opposites, right? Like one
right.
had a really good family, one had a bad family, one went to the mob, one's trying to sort of get
Yeah,
out.
right. So he's just trying to be a police officer, and Captain Queenan, which is played by Martin Sheen, kind of starts this new unit. And he gets Billy, Leonardo DiCaprio, to go undercover to infiltrate Frank Costello's gang. And at the same time, Frank Costello has Matt Damon's character infiltrating the Massachusetts State Police.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you got this all the time, this conflicting plot, you know. So after that, it goes or whatever. Costigan has him. Billy Costigan goes into jail to like play this part to like you
Yeah.
look like he's like
A real
a
gangster.
criminal. Yeah,
Yeah, a
like
real
yeah. So he gets out of jail and goes to work for Frank, Jack Nicholson's character,
yeah.
and he doesn't know that he's a rat. He has no idea he's a cop. He has an idea there's somebody in their organization that's a rat, but he don't know. So like the one of the scenes that he starts out with is Leonardo DiCaprio walks into the bar and he orders a cranberry juice. Well, the guy sitting beside him goes, "What's the matter? Are you on your period or something?" He's like, "What?" So he has to like make it like look like he's tough. So he like beats this dude up really bad and like they stop him or whatever. Frank's right hand man, I can't remember his name, but he's also a big part in the
Yeah.
movie too. The one that does like all of his like I guess like his enforcer.
Yes.
He stops him. He's like, "Hey, this you can't touch this guy. He's kind of like a made guy. He's a piece of shit, but he's kind of off limits." Well, this gets Frank interested in like, "Oh, who is this guy?" Figures out like who his family had ties with before. And I guess like his dad was a friend of Frank's like in the earlier in life.
Yeah.
And he talks him into going to work for him, but first he has to fill him out. So I can't remember if he beats up Leonardo DiCaprio beats up a couple dudes from the Rhode Island, the Providence mob, which is their competitor,
Right.
and breaks his hand. So he has his arm all wrapped up in a cast. He goes back to the same bar. Frank pulls him in the back room to see if he's like wearing like a wire or whatever. Pretty much breaks his arm again in the cast and like figures
Mhm.
out like asks him like if he's like 10 times if he's a cop and all this stuff. And then he pretty much lets him go to work for him. So now he's in. Billy's in. Well, Matt Damon has got ulterior motives because the whole time Frank's trying to do this deal with the Chinese about these microprocessors or something that
Yeah.
can like with missiles or weapons or some kind of I can't remember like exactly what
It
they
was
were trying to
they
get
were
at.
they were supposed to be for missiles, is
Right.
what I understood.
So
Uh,
enemies of the state. So that's what Martin Sheen, this SIU Special Investigations Unit, is kind of after. Also busting Frank, which is based loosely based on Whitey Bulger, the gangster Whitey Bulger from South Boston. Uh, so that kind of sets up the, I guess, the whole storyline. You know, from then on out,
yeah,
Billy,
we see Colin. He's really struggling with his job and what he's doing, so he has to go to a therapist. Uh,
right,
Billy also is mandated to go through a therapist because of his time he was
anger,
in prison. His time he was in prison. Um, Turns out it's the same therapist, and they both fall in love with her, which is kind of a back plot in this movie. Behind it is
right,
that they don't know each other or sleeping with the same girl, right?
a lover's quarrel,
Yeah, and they don't even know it, right?
right.
So, um, yeah, they it kind of goes back and forth. There's a whole lot of action. This isn't a big budget action movie, car chases and explosions,
I think it's
but
more of like a drama,
yeah,
psychological kind of like suspense almost movie.
yeah, but there's definitely some action in this film. So,
Yeah, oh yeah, there definitely is. Um, so that whole side story is going on where they're dating the psychologist or whatever, and Billy's kind of torn because like he doesn't want anybody to get hurt and it's kind of personal to him because a lot of the dealings that Frank Costello and the crew is dealing with are people that were connected to his family or people that like are from his past that he's been trying so hard to get away from, and his
yeah,
family does have money like they you know they like old money in that area. So whenever his mom dies, his uncle comes into town and he's like, "We can help you get you a job or do this, that." And then he's like, "I just want you gone." You know, he ends up paying for the funeral though, because Billy doesn't have the means to do it. And this is like
right.
a whole, he's very, I found that that character was very mysterious. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, he's a great actor, but like you don't ever really know what he's thinking or anything.
Yeah, you kind of don't know if he's really working for the police or if he's really working
Right.
for the mob, which way he's leaning. I think he kind of designed it that way. I did read that Leo said Billy was like a constant 24-hour panic attack. Like he always had something
Yeah.
going on. He didn't really,
Yeah.
that's the way he felt playing that character. So, um, I think they all did a great job, um, with their roles. Even I know Mark Wahlberg is probably the one that he received the accolades, but Leo and Matt both did an exceptional job.
Yeah. And Jack Nicholson, I
Yeah,
mean, the just like his like wild antics. Like he plays like
for
that
sure.
like eccentric guy like the whole time. Like he's like sitting there like one scene he's sitting there eating breakfast with his buddy is right like his muscle and his woman is like passed out on the couch hungover because
Yeah.
she's obviously mental too. And he's like got this dude's hand in a Ziploc bag and he's eating lobster
Yes.
just like shaking this hand like the severed hand. And the guy comes over and he's like, "I thought that was really nice of you not taking the hand that he jacks off with." And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I'm getting real sentimental in my old age or something." And he's like, "I remember whenever your wife used to be sentimental." And it shows like the muscle killing his ex-wife for cheating on him. And it's
You're
like,
right.
God, these guys like because they always remind you like how ruthless they are throughout the
Yeah,
movie.
it was very reminded me a lot of Scarface.
Yeah,
Some of those moments, right?
like
So,
intimidation, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure. So, like I said, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great gangster movie. We get, when we get to the end of it, uh, we can kind of skip forward because it's a lot of back and
Yeah, there's a
forth
lot of
and
plot there back and
yeah,
forth, but they they end up finding an envelope in the mail that Billy had sent, and it
yeah,
had like a
they figured it out.
CD. Right, yeah, they Mark Wahlberg and Martin Sheen end up figuring it out. They're like, hey,
Yeah,
like Matt Damon or something. They don't know for sure if it's him, but they
right.
got a pretty good idea it's somebody in their office.
And
So,
then Billy realizes that uh, Colin Matt's character knows he's working for the police too, right? And has figured it
right,
out. So
right,
they kind of at the end have put all of the pieces together and realized that um, Colin's working for the mob and Billy's working for the police. They're on the
right.
opposite ends of the same spectrum.
And
So
then you also find out that Frank Costello is an FBI informant
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
time.
the whole time,
So
and
he's
just to
protected
cover
in
his
a
yeah,
sense.
he
Yeah,
was doing that to protect himself for sure. Um,
right.
they finally meet back on top of the building, and we see Martin,
Madden.
yeah,
No, Queenan, Captain Queenan,
yeah, Captain Queenan's
Martin Sheen's character,
Martin Sheen's character get thrown off the top of the building.
and lands right in front of Billy
Right,
because he'd been out dealing with other stuff and about gets caught
right.
because of like then like the people on
Well,
Costello's
he was
crew.
on top of he was on top of the building
Yeah,
and ran down because he told him to leave so that
get
he didn't get caught.
get
And when he come down
compromised.
the building, come back around so they can go in like he was part of the crew, that's when he falls.
Right.
Um, or
And that
he
one
gets
guy
thrown off the
catches
building.
on and he's like, how did you know to be here? Like he realizes that Billy, the one that got shot
Yeah,
in
he goes,
Costello's crew.
I gave you the wrong address. And then
Yeah.
he tells him that everybody's laying on his deathbed, I gave you the wrong address. How'd you end up there? And he goes, you know why I didn't say anything, right?
Because he's
And they're,
undercover too.
yeah, they're insinuating he was also undercover. Um,
Right.
so, uh, there's a lot going around. A lot of people end up getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
Um, they were starting to take out rats. This guy's a rat. They kill him. And right before all this happens, or right after all this happens, they're back in the apartment. Uh, and Scorsese zooms in on a rat on the terrace
Oh, well,
outside,
yeah, I never
right?
caught that.
And
Yeah.
he kind of runs by the window right before the whole showdown between Billy and Colin, right before right at the end when they end up shooting each other, and then Mark Wahlberg comes in and ends it all, right? So
Right. He's got his gloves on. He goes and cleans up shop. Mark Wahlberg goes around like the hitman and cleans up everybody's mess.
let me ask you this: were they? Do you think they were insinuating that he was also working for the mob at that point and inside the
I think
police?
so.
I think so too. Another
I
plot
think he
line.
was like up with like the top dogs, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
maybe like over Frank. Like you know what I'm saying?
I got you. The therapist that they were both sleeping with, um, she ends up pregnant, and throughout this whole movie, they insinuate that Matt Damon's character Colin is impotent. He can't get it up. He can't. He has problems. Uh, Matt said that he actually asked him to put that in the script because he wanted to balance out his bravado, the ego that he
Right.
had, so to make him look more vulnerable. That was part of it. So let me
Uh,
ask, do you think that that was Billy's baby that she
yeah, I
was
think
pregnant
so.
with? Yeah,
I
I
think
think
so
that's
because they
what.
hook up that night that she gives him the Xanax, that medicine, you
Right,
know, like he's like real vulnerable in her office and they end up like seeing
and
each
it
other
makes
after.
and they make such a big deal about uh Colin not being able to have sex or
Consummate, yeah.
yeah, that I feel like that's the whole deal there. Um, so this was a remake of a Hong Kong film.
I didn't know
Uh,
that until I started reading facts, and I
yeah,
thought that was pretty wild.
Infernal Affairs. There people are very torn about whether they did it justice or not because apparently that's a big one. Uh,
And it's a big one in Hong Kong.
yes, yes, a big
Oh,
one.
okay.
So Scorsese originally wanted Al Pacino instead of Jack Nicholson. But Al Pacino passed, which gave us Jack Nicholson, which I'm fine with. I think he did a great job.
I think, yeah, you watch after watching the movie. I don't know if anybody else plays that character like he does.
No, this is the first Oscar Best Motion Picture winner to not be released on VHS. So this was right at the time where VHS was being phased out, and actually Blu-ray was coming in.
Right.
Another side note to that is it is the first Oscar Best Motion Picture winner to be put onto HD DVD. If you remember that,
I
uh,
remember there was a battle between HD, DVD, and Blu-ray. We talked about
so
this a little while
yeah,
back.
so it was the first one to go onto that format of stuff that eventually died out. So um, I had there's not a whole lot of tidbits. I mean, this is just a great movie.
I've got one. They said I
Yeah.
read where it was bought from the Media Asia company in Hong Kong. It was originally bought by Brad Pitt
Yeah, I
and
did see that.
for 1.75 million, and he was going to play the part of Matt Damon, but he
Yeah,
was
he
too
is.
old. He said and he wanted somebody younger to play that part.
I think he's an executive producer on the film too.
He is. Him and it was Warner Brothers, one of their offices and producers, Brad Gray bought it with him.
Yeah, I think
So,
he had what I read was him and Jennifer Aniston had some kind of company at that point in time that they they worked with to buy this. So she was part of it when they were married, when Brad
huh.
and Jennifer Aniston were
I
married.
forgot they were even married. That was just for
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. So
Man, the early
um
2000s. That was right before Brangelina, you know?
Brangelina, yeah.
Yeah.
So Leo and Matt rode the Red Line train system 100 times trying to record their part of the movie where they were on the train, and so over 100 times. So that I'm sure that was a long, long day, or 2 days, or
Oh,
three
yeah, a
days,
couple
whatever
of
it took
days,
to
a
get that.
week. Yeah,
Yeah.
geez.
So
Mm. They said
well,
I saw a thing that said this movie really recognizes Catholic guilt. Like throughout
yeah,
the whole movie, like how like it portrays all that, like
yeah, and it's in
how
the
like
back
dark. Well, it's like an undertone throughout the whole movie.
for sure. So I got a couple Google reviews I'd like to share with you.
Let's hear it.
We
It's my favorite part of the day.
so this is a superb movie on all accounts. This crime conspiracy theory begins soft and slow, but keeps picking up more and more steam and culminates in a breathtaking finale. To the end of the movie, I was stopped the film a couple times to discuss with my girlfriend what the previous scene actually meant. Not because it was so hard to understand, but rather because we just couldn't believe what just happened. This is
Hmm.
how surprised, baffled, thrilled, and incredulous we were at watching this movie unfold. The plot itself is already very intriguing. I have not seen this idea acted out beforehand. The parallel development of Leo and Matt keeps on getting more entangled and twisted, and the roles are played very well by both of them. I am not anyone to write too long or intellectual reviews, so just trust my word that me and my girlfriend both came to the conclusion that this was an A+ movie. I'm actually baffled that this movie only has a 4.5 star here on Google. This movie is more like a 4.7 or 4.8 to me. This is a top notch as it gets. 5 stars. So I did some digging trying to find 1 star reviews because I like to do five and ones. I couldn't find any. They were so I got a 2 star here. So
Mm.
don't care who directed it, who the actors were. I don't stick with the brand names. They turned a Hong Kong classic and turned Infernal Affairs into a real Hollywood cowboy flick. Infernal Affairs was a delicate touch, like a fine dim sum, revealed the moral gray areas these characters were navigating, but in The Departed, subtly took a one-way ticket to Mars. They hammer you over the head with morality, like, hey, in case you don't get it, these guys are morally conflicted. Character depth, yeah, not in this movie. 2 stars.
Kind of like what we were talking about earlier about him always showing the intimidation with the hand and
Hmm.
blah blah blah. They're
So,
wrong though. 2 stars is incorrect.
yeah, I'm agree with you. So, um, we got our own little ranking system. So, I'd like to hear Let me get it pulled up here. What Josh has to say about it.
I gave it a 4.7. This might be probably the highest ranking that you see me give on this here
Four,
podcast.
4.7 are real fine by me. That
That's
is 4.7 for me is super duper high too. That's you're pushing up to five territory there.
I
I
love this movie. I think it's a great. I could watch this movie. When I finally watched it again, I couldn't believe that I don't watch it more often because it's just. But it's also very long. It's kind of a long
yeah,
movie, but it's just great, man. If you have nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon or
and it's
something like
all
that, it's
I
man.
I'm not as high on it. Um, so I'm at a 4.2. So I'm also in the real fine by me category, but I'm a lot lower in that area than you are. The problem I have with it, it's an exceptional movie from start to finish. It's great. It's not something you're gonna scroll across on TV somewhere in the middle of it and pick it up because you're gonna miss a lot of the backstory and be like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, why is he doing this?" You're gonna have to go back and figure. You can't just step
Yeah,
into
you got
any.
to make it a point to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Um, but I do love it. So it's a great movie. There's a reason why it won so many Oscars, so many awards, and why it was the best motion picture of 2006 and won awards accordingly to it. So, uh, yeah, that's what I got. You got anything you want to add to this? Any stuff?
No, like I said, man, I'm I think the reason why I rate it so high at the 4.7, I like Leonardo DiCaprio. He's probably one of my favorite actors, and I think that and Jack Nicholson, like I said, it's just like it hits all the markers for me, I guess, and what you would consider like a crime,
So
movie.
this is our second Mark Wahlberg movie. This is our second
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson movie.
I'm
Uh,
kind of liking this trend, man.
yeah,
I
so
kind of like it.
we've been all over it.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, we this was a good one. So put it down in our books. We will try to do these a little more regularly for you guys and get back at it now that the bird flu has went through everybody.
Man, just keep it
So
away. Let it fly, fly far away. And thank y'all for listening.
yeah,
We'll see you next time.
yeah. Thank you.